The poor conditions Nigerian students were subjected to write their WAEC examination has sparked negative reactions amongst many Nigerians clamoring for a reformation of the educational system in Nigeria. But wait, was this not the same statements that we made during the massive failure in JAM about a month ago? The moment the FG rescheduled the JAM examination, it silenced every form of protest, begging the question, how long are we going to continue as Nigerians clamoring rather than taking proactive actions towards ensuring that indeed the educational system in Nigeria is revamped? Hello and welcome to Things We Don't Talk. My name is Georgina and I'm your host, and today we're going to dive into the relevance of JAM. Why should the Joint Admissions Matriculation Board examinations be allowed to continue to exist when the purpose for which it was established is not being met? Now, it's no longer news that Nigeria experienced massive failure in the JAM examinations conducted about a month ago. We saw a lot of Nigerians coming out in their masses complaining, criticizing the federal government, the teaching system from top to bottom. We also saw the JAM registrar coming out on national TV and crying on national television. And I'm asking, why is he crying on national TV? I saw a lot of Nigerians applauding for him. Alas, his tears only amounted to a rescheduling of the JAM examination. But the rescheduling cannot suffice. It is not enough. Clearly, the FG wants to silence public opinion with this temporal measure of rescheduling the exam to avoid being pressured into carrying out the most drastic and needed change, which is to scrap JAM out. I mean, if the purpose for which a thing has been established is not being met, then why should it be allowed to continue to exist? Now, this brings us to the most important question. Why was JAM established? Now, let me take you down the history line. JAM was established in the year 1973 through a military act on 13th of February, and it was created to address the lack of uniformity in conducting qualification examinations into the tertiary institutions and universities across Nigeria. Now, before JAM, students applied to multiple universities separately, and this was time-consuming and costly. So with JAM, you get to apply to these multiple universities. You need a more unified method. Now, JAM was established to ensure that every single person, student seeking for admissions into tertiary institutions, would be given equal and fair opportunity to gain admissions into these institutions, irrespective of their geopolitical backgrounds. So the question now is, has JAM been able to ensure that these geopolitical sentiments do not come into play when seeking for admissions into tertiary institutions? Has it been able to reduce the complexities, the resources, the time consumed when seeking for admissions into these tertiary institutions? The question is no, because students still struggle to make payments, only to be told that they will not be able to secure admissions into these tertiary institutions because they do not meet up with the JAM cutoff point. Are you kidding me? As a result, students end up writing exams 5 to 10 times. I've been a victim. My siblings have been victims. So the system is frustrating. As a result, Nigerian students have developed apathy for the exam. I put it to you that the reason why there was massive failure is not because the teachers failed or because Nigerian students are too lazy to study. It's because the system is tiring. It is a question of policy failure. It's not a question of student laziness. It's the policy, and that is the reason why JAM needs to be scrapped out. A rescheduling is not enough. It won't suffice. What the system needs is a total overhaul, and that's why I'm going to make these recommendations to the FG. Number one, JAM should be abolished. It should be scrapped out since the purpose for which it was established is not being met. But if JAM must be allowed to continue to exist, then these certificate examinations should be made to last for at least 2 to 3 years, making it easy for JAM as well as those seeking for admissions into the tertiary institutions. And lastly, the FG should invest more in the educational sector. The educational sector is the backbone of any developed country, and so Nigeria needs to key into this, because from time immemorial, the investment in the educational sector has been below the UNESCO recommendation of 26% for developing countries. In 1960, the FG allocated 6.02% into the educational sector. In 1970, it dropped to 0.69%. In 1976, it rose to 8.71%. In 1978, it rose to 11.44%. This was the highest allocation since 1960. In 1996, it rose to 12.32%. In 1997, it rose even higher to 17.59%. This was the highest since the discovery of oil. And ever since then, we have been revolving between 11, 10, 3, 2, 7, 9%. But majorly, 5 and 7%. In fact, between 2021 below, the FG allocation to education revolved around 5 to 7%. That is about 20% far off from the UNESCO benchmark of 26% recommendation for developing countries. Now, looking at the historical statistics of FG's investment in the educational sector of Nigeria, you will discover that government investment in the educational sector drops to 0% immediately after oil was discovered. Now, I guess they felt that there was no need to invest in the educational sector. I mean, there was so much money coming in through the oil sector. Who needs education? But what happened? Oil glut happened, and the moment oil glut happened, they began to realize that they needed to invest more in the educational sector. And that is the reason why, if you look at the historical statistical chart, you will see that the investment in the educational sector has been fluctuating down, up, was never getting to the 26% recommendation of UNESCO for developing countries. Now, it is about time that the government look inward. Are we waiting for another oil glut before we take the necessary actions to do what needs to be done? We need to look inwards and invest in those areas where we have competitive advantage, like our education, our agricultural sector. That is what we need to do. And so this brings me back to the question: should JAMB be scrapped out? Do you agree with me? If you do, drop your answers in the comment section below. Let me know, and please do not forget to share this video until the person who needs to hear this will hear it. Do you think JAMB should be scrapped out? Do you think that it should be made to last for 2 to 3 years? If you agree, let me know. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you for staying with us on Things We Don't Talk. My name is Georgina, your host, and until next time.